Yesterday, we had a 5-game series. We'll see if today's competitors are up to a similar challenge today. On one side, we have TSM, who nearly took down every team in their path to earn that number 3 seed. And today, they go up against a surging EchoFox, whose last-minute return of Rush propelled them to pick up wins versus Team Liquid and Cloud9. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the LCS Countdown, where for 30 minutes, we check in on the effects of patch 9.6 and preview TSM versus EchoFox until the timer reaches 0 and we jump into Champions Select. FlyQuest picked up the win yesterday against Golden Guardians in a 5-game series. We'll see who their semifinal opponent is after today's match, EchoFox versus TSM, where Team Liquid will have the choice, as is their right, as the number 1 seed. Of course, TL Steve already made that call for the squad.
Yeah, it doesn't even know, but apparently TSM's gonna win this series and they're gonna pick him, regardless of how it looks.
If they lose, he's also gonna pick him, right? But
Yeah, we're gonna pick him. I don't know what happens then.
He has to do it. If he doesn't pick him, we can't trust him anymore.
Exactly.
Well, we should get the flame on Twitter if he doesn't, right? That's how.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
For sure.
And here on the desk, on Twitter and on the desk.
Forever.
We can flame him everywhere.
Exactly, everywhere.
Ooh, perfect.
No
I
one's
like it.
safe. We normally praise the supportive play styles that give resources up to one's teammates, but sometimes you gotta spend everything on yourself just to say, I'm helping. Brought to you by State Farm. In his game versus Golden Guardians, Pobelter spends every oh-crap ability to buy time for his team's arrival.
I feel like it needs to be more about the split, but we haven't seen them continue.
If you can't kill him here, you're never gonna kill him, period. Golden Guardians trying to make it happen. Pobelter the target. Over the wall goes Wild Turtle, looking to make something happen. Santorin grabbing the kill onto Froggen. And FlyQuest turn this one around real quick.
I mean, you feel terrible. You just have 4 people taking one on, and you can't kill him. How does that look like when they have the whole team?
On the other side, the other person feels great about that. Pobelter's like, yeah, they
come at me, let's go.
I'll take you all on.
It's like the second or third time in that game, too, we did something like that on Swain. Just got off to an absolute smashing start, and that's the kind of champion that can 1v9 in situations like that. It was a total turnaround moment for the series as well, as that was in Game 2, and they'd pushed it all the way to Game 5 for the victory. Only 5 teams remain in the race for St. Louis, which means it's time to say goodbye to a team that made the rise from 10th to playoffs this split in RIP Golden Guardians.
Don't say goodbye when you don't have to go.
It doesn't really, I mean, it does matter. As long as we're on the same one, it doesn't matter.
So it does matter?
No, it doesn't matter.
See you later would suit me fine.
But can they stop this TV? They do! Oh my God! It is over! And Golden Guardians retain control!
But don't say goodbye.
It does matter. But it does
No,
matter.
it doesn't matter.
But it does, matter.
Did it matter?
It did.
It did matter?
It did matter.
They got some fond memories this season.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's something we have to celebrate, right? It is the trajectory of this team over the course of their 14 months as an organization.
Who else is going to play Vel'Koz for us?
I don't know, man.
There's a handful of Vel'Koz. There are a couple Vel'Koz.
That was it. Crumbs is really taking this one hard.
No one else. Froggen is the guy.
I'm gonna see my Vel'Koz.
Well, maybe they'll play newer things. Maybe we'll see like a Jatt or something from Jensen.
Or maybe a Kale.
Yes.
I would love to
yeah,
get into
yeah.
that. The match displayed, more so than others, how different playing a best-of-5 series is versus that best-of-1 in the regular split.
Yeah, yesterday was one of those quintessential what you want to see in a best-of-5 series where it's back and forth. There's actually people choosing what side they think works best for them, not just like default blue or whatever, as well as the fact that there was the little meta that developed. So I liked all those like little intricacies of that series.
Yeah, I mean, it's the first time we saw them on 9.6, so I highly doubt that today we're going to see something similar to yesterday, because these guys scrim separately as different metas develop, especially during the course of the game. The Lissandra in particular became a pick that the teams just were losing on. So if teams are better executing with the mid and jungle, today maybe Lissandra just skyrockets again to what we expected.
Right. I think they just have to be worried about the Lissandra counter picks, though. Every time Lissandra lost, it was into a champion that she's not that strong into. Zoe, Swain. So I'm sure that TSM watched these games today, and so did EchoFox, or yesterday rather. So obviously, they probably won't do it unless there's like different bans and picks. So we'll see how they adapt to what they saw yesterday.
Yeah, and I'm curious to see what happens with Red Side because that was a very counterpick heavy series. It felt like for Froggen to try and be like that hyper late game carry. Similar story here for TSM, I think, where they always want counterpick for Broken Blade. So I wonder if both teams are going to want Red Side or maybe...
TSM did choose Red Side already.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying is if they're both going to try and fight for the Red Side or if they're willing to let Solo play the blind side of these matchups.
See, I don't even think Red Side's that good. Blue Side has consistently been like the superior win rate throughout most of competitive play, and if you use flex picks well enough and you're versatile with your laners, you can get away with matchups that make it so difficult for you to lock down a counter pick that you're better off just taking what's good right away, especially in the new patch. If you say, oh, Kale's amazing, no one can counter it, pick it right away.
Well, we're going to have to wait till game 2 to see what happens, see if the teams buck the trend that was established just yesterday. The best of 5 was the first games on 9.6, though, as was mentioned, and we saw a couple of those changes come into effect. Of course, most notably, the jungle Urgot made its first appearance.
Right, and contracts popped off on that character. Like, he got like the double kill bot with the sweet ultimate that went from like 10 years away into the flash sphere, and that was awesome. I hope to see it today.
I mean, I hope to see it in the last series as well. He did so well and then just put it aside.
Which of the two junglers today would be more equipped, do you think, for an
Rush?
Rush,
I mean,
absolutely.
There's that Reddit play the other day about him just like flashing over the red buff, right? I don't know if he'll do that here in this series, but he's been playing a lot in solo queue.
Yeah, I think Rush is more of like the I'm going to carry a little bit harder, whereas Acadian is almost always playing early game aggressive champions to set laners up versus himself. And so like that's more of a Vi, which I know you love, James, if it's going to come in.
Man, I want that.
They're
so
playing Vi in LPL. They're playing Nidalee in the LPL. They won Worlds last year.
Let's go to China. Give it to me. Will we have a Kale sighting?
Yes, fact.
Yes, fact.
I think Solo could do it.
I'm going to say no.
Okay.
I don't think so.
Let's talk about this champion, though. This is a very polarizing champion in League of Legends right now. The perception around her strength, it varies from person to person that I even talk to individually, trying to find what her use cases are and maybe what, you know, she lends to a team comp professionally that other champions don't.
I mean, she's a pretty complex champion. I think from what I've seen her best used in, I like when you pick her with a strong bot side of the map that is pretty self-sufficient, so then you can spend your jungler's time making sure she gets off the ground. Okay. Because she's super good in a lot of teamfight team comps. She has a lot of utility in her kit. She's not just some like Vayne top split push, I can only do damage champion. And post 6, she actually, while she isn't quite ready to teamfight yet, her laning is suddenly much better because she doesn't die quite as easily to dives as soon as she gets her ultimate available.
Right, and she's like a definition of like a hard carry champion, right? Like when you hit 16 on that champion, you start doing true damage on your attacks, and you become a monster. That was a really cool like video, by the way. That 1v1
the animations on Kale are...
They're pretty sweet.
I just
watching her level up.
Where you just play Kale versus hordes of minions constantly.
Wave clear Kale game.
Like a tower defense game with Kale as the main tower.
Mode. Yeah, I like that idea. Now, later on, we'll break down how these changes may affect TSM versus Echo Fox. But before we do, we're going to send it over to Riv for another split in review.
Thank you very much, Dash. Playoffs are underway and finals are just around the corner. So this week, we decided to grab some plays that would stoke the playoff hype. Focusing on the postseason, we have 3 memorable game-changing instances from playoffs past. Our first play caught even the casters off guard. Heading back to the 2016 spring semifinals of CLG versus Team Liquid, Piglet was seeing double.
CLG looking to put the Piglet! He's going hard. Piglet gets 1. He gets 2. Oh, other side of the wall. The team's not going to fall. No, he's fine. Grievous Wound applied, Grievous Wound off, and CLG stays alive. If Piglet has a chance to stay over that wall, even unpeeled, he can do some big damage. Eyes on him in these fights for sure.
And Piglet is definitely in hyper carry mode right now, but Darshan wants to kill him.
That's a little ambitious.
Oh, the double TP!
It's 2 of them, the double TP! He only thought it was 1. He had to have only thought it was 1 TP, and he could exit that with a Caliber net.
And now CLG, with the kill onto Piglet, may be able to end the game and punch their ticket to the finals.
Always remember that. CLG's win there would give them a chance to defend their championship title and beat TSM. The next play jumps back to the 2016 spring finals of CLG versus TSM, where Stixay gives TSM some dance lessons.
Svensker forced a flash away. Darshan has GA, gets popped around. Knocked back now by Buster Shot as well. Bjergsen is low. Oh, he gets hit up, but QS is out. He's still gonna tag. He's trying to reset. He's going in for the resets. Yellow Star got another one. He's going for 3. Stixay. They can go ahead. Stana.
Smithy's popping up from his GA. Svenskera's gonna try and stop him, but he's the only one.
He's gonna go down! That's it! The ace for CLG! The clean-up from Stixay! And CLG proved you can change the players, but the faith remains! And they're gonna walk to their second consecutive North American LCS championship!
This play ultimately locked CLG's ticket to MSI. Some incredible memories of CLG versus SKT and a fantastic second place MSI finish amongst powerhouse regions of LPL, LMS, and LCK. The final play to stoke the playoff hype is from the summer of 2016, the final game versus C9 versus TSM, where Doublelift reigns on Cloud9's parade.
The Weaver's Wall! Weaver's Wall catches up a couple. Now can they have the follow-up damage? A couple of stuns come in. They've got Bjergsen, and they shut him down with a 1600 damage crit.
Can they get double?
Low. Meteos, another knockup, trades his life, but it does. Double lift! Gets the GA. Double killing them all. Kills everybody. They've got 3. Impact goes down. An ace for TSM.
Double lift turns around the fight, staying alive, so much patience, bides his time, and he takes over.
Following that summer season, Doublelift would take a break during the spring, and without skipping a beat, found himself back on the final stage in summer to help make TSM the only team ever to three-peat in the LCS. So we'll see what plays join the pantheon of great moments as playoffs continue. We're taking a break right now, but when we return, there is more LCS Countdown. Don't go anywhere.
Welcome back to the LCS Countdown, where we're kicking off the second quarter final. TSM versus Echo Fox in just about 15 minutes. Now, before his playoff match versus his former team, Song caught up with Avali to share his postseason plan.
Thanks, guys. I just spoke with Song, head coach of Echo Fox, kind of about the team atmosphere coming into today. He said that the team put in a lot of preparation, both into their game macro as well as communication. The team is feeling super confident after the way that their regular split ended. And, you know, he is aware of Hakuho, Solo, and Apollo's history versus TSM. So we'll see how today goes for them.
Thank you very much, Avli. I, too, would feel confident based off of TSM's regular season performance moving into this matchup. I think it is important that Song recognizes the trio of players that handed TSM a loss last spring in the postseason. But, of course, it is a new year, a new time.
I mean, it's pretty funny that he was coaching against them in that series, now with them. It's like bittersweet, maybe a little bit.
Yeah.
It'd be a weird emotion.
Without a doubt. But let's dive into this quarterfinal series. I think for TSM, it's all about bringing their fans back from a disappointing 2018 for an organization that historically has just performed so well.
Right, and they have looked dominant this season. Like, they look like the strongest team in the second half of the split, and they're coming into this playoffs like as a lot of people's favorite to actually win the entire thing.
Yeah, and I think it's not just like the players or the fans who are excited. The players are too. I think you can see that a lot of these guys were really upset with how 2018 ended for them.
Yes.
Sven coming in as like one of the greatest European marksmen of all time, joins the greatest North American organization of all time, and they missed their first Worlds. They they lose for the first time in quarterfinals, missing their first finals appearance. Like, that's such a tainted legacy kind of like footnote that I think they all want to forget. So they care a lot about this playoff series.
Well, that's when they built that super roster, right? With Sven and Matthew, the best of G2. And so by failing there, they now bring a bunch of new players, which we saw from Riv in the previous TSM plays. The only remaining player from those days was Bjergsen. So now all these new players built around this roster. Not a lot of experience across the board, with Acadian having no playoff experience, Broken Blade being essentially new to the LCS, and now you brought in Zix. And to me, that's really been the star of the show, because he's been able to take this team that started off shaky, but with the confidence to say that once they get going, they can beat anyone.
And in best of 5, Zix's role becomes all that much more important. It's also important to note they only dropped 1 game on the back half of the split. Likewise, Echo Fox, now in a much shorter time period, did go on their own bit of a tear to end the split on a 4-0 run.
Right. I mean, they didn't have to win as many games to go on their little tear, you know, since it's only 4 matches, to be fair. But they were playing against really strong teams, right? They took down C9, they took down Team Liquid, and it wasn't like they were like, they played those games really well, so it's not like they fluked into their win or anything like that. So if people are expecting Fox not to put up a fight here, they're going to be sorely mistaken.
But they're really smart in their draft, because they recognize that Jarvan's a super strong pick right now. First picking it for Rush multiple times with the Azir, with the Jinx, even Morganas and Lulus. Like, they're experimenting a lot that I think is going to be a huge impact today, because that's how you catch the top teams off guard. That's how you're going to catch TSM off guard.
Yeah, and I think Rush in particular, hopefully we see more than just the Jarvan. That was what they leaned on a little bit in their run, but he has looked so much better since coming back from like the little break he had. Gave him time to mentally reset, and he was the death leader for junglers prior to taking the break, and I think he died twice or 3 times after coming back in those 4 games. So a huge turnaround for him.
Yeah, now we can't lie here. TSM is definitely coming into the series as the favorites, but that's why I want to challenge you guys as analysts to pinpoint those potential mismatches that might push the series in favor of Echo Fox.
Right. For me, I think about top lane as a possible mismatch. A lot of people put Broken Blade as the top 3 of top laners, and while that's not a wrong thing to say, people don't really account Solo for being a good top laner, but I think he's arguably just as good as Broken Blade, if not better, for this split. And if I were to put them head-to-head, like in a percentage-wise, I'd probably favor Solo, actually, for the time being, about like 55% to 45% to Broken Blade. And I think he's definitely a very undervalued and underlooked-at player.
I mean, the metric is in the last 2 weeks, they both bought Impact. So TL is the #1 team. They both won that, so that's a pretty good standard. But for me, I actually think that while Caden's been super solid this entire split, I think that Rush might be able to just go to another level of jungler right here. His flexibility with the picks is a little bit more than I think they're going to give Acadian. Like, if Rush says, I want to play Nidalee, I got this, I think they'll allow him to do that. I don't think TSM is a team to say, all right, you know what, this is going to work for you, Acadian. Go ahead and go with the full Chad jungle.
Likely they will rely on Rush at times during this series to get them a lead. The other matchup I want to talk about, though, of course, is the mid lane. Phoenix versus Bjergsen. These 2 players actually have a lot of history between them.
Yeah, people don't remember Phoenix came into the scene in 2015. They had their first playoff, second playoff series was against Bjergsen. It was a really tough one. And you can see how difficult it is to play against Bjergsen in the postseason.
There are only 2 players that have a winning record against Bjergsen in the postseason. Those are Golden Glue
with 2-0,
with a 2-0, and Featherman 3-1. And both of these come from last year, the worst performing year of TSM.
And they're not even here anymore.
And they're not here.
And it was single series matchup. So when you play against Bjergsen, like
small sample size,
everyone but those 2 guys have a losing record versus him in the postseason. So that puts a lot of pressure onto Phoenix to actually go out there and have a fantastic series and control him a little bit.
Yeah, so let's take a look at that featured matchup in the 18 times that they have met. Now, this isn't just postseason. This is all time. Phoenix has only come out on top 5 out of those 18 times, 13 for Bjergsen. But the stats are actually what jump out to me behind all that. They don't look so bad for Phoenix in a matchup where he's lost, you know, that many games.
Right, but stats only tell a portion of a story, right? You can, like, with those 4 stats, it makes it seem like Phoenix isn't actually that bad against it, but it's hard to say, like, what his impact in the games are as Bjergsen, like, roaming early game, taking control of the map, and, like, just dominating him. As a person that's played against Bjergsen a lot, he's definitely a very difficult mid laner to play versus. Like, he's very hard to punish, he makes 0 mistakes, and he can hard carry if you give him the opportunity.
He's so hard to gank. He's like ungankable. He's essentially trying to do what Faker does, where he just positions himself like you're playing Syndra. It's like, okay, if I want to gank Bjergsen, I'm probably gonna have to die to do it, and you never want to be in that position.
Are we calling up some unfavorable memories
actually,
for you right
remember
now?
that specific. I really know. There's a game I'm pinpointing. I'm Kha'Zix against Syndra. It's not a good time.
I love it. I love it. We'll see if Bjergsen can do any of that fun stuff today. We're stepping away. When we return, we find out if the magnets I dropped on a PC in the back room killed Jatt stats, and look at the predictions coming into this series. Don't go anywhere.
You got your own car with your own insurance.
Thanks, Steph. No more driving that old hand-me-down.
Surprise!
No, I'm not gonna get a date in this.
We had a lot of great dates in this car.
No, ew.
Welcome back to the LCS Countdown. We're about 6 minutes away from TSM versus Echo Fox. And as I mentioned earlier, I ordered a 14-pound box of magnets that I ran over some computers in hopes of destroying Jatt stats. So for our next segment, I wanted to bring back the dance crew that... Damn it!
Hello, Dash.
It was a good effort.
Mark and Crumbs.
I thought
Welcome back to Jatt Stats. Your attempts to silence me were all for naught, but you did manage to make me angrier. How exciting.
I'm sorry.
I'll let bygones be bygones if you can answer question 1. Yesterday, we showed a playoff facts graphic that said Oli had the highest win rate in the LCS playoffs all time. He lost, so he no longer holds this record. Who does?
Win rate all time. So
he only went 2 and 3, and he really bumped down that much.
It was Viper's first series. He went 3 and 2. Is 60% the highest?
There's no way.
No, because Ole was 79%.
Will it be a pole
He was
vaulter?
79% prior. So you think there's nobody in that 19% right range?
Yeah. It's gotta be someone from IMC.
Is it somebody like random,
No,
like
not
double? I mean, double has had.
I like the
pretty-
Viper thing. I'm gonna take that one.
I don't think
it's 60% though. I'm gonna go with something like double, of which I'll
go Viper.
It's probably,
I'll go
it's probably
Pole
not correct
vaulter.
because he's played too many games. You think
I
Pole
don't think
vaulter?
it's pole vaulter. I think I've been.
That's Santorin.
Santorin. Oh,
TSM,
and then the fight quest.
See, it's not my idea.
The correct answer is Biofrost, who has a 78.3% win
Well,
rate
I
at
guess that
18 and
makes
5.
sense, right? Because
After the TSM days,
yeah.
The 5, right? Well, that's a stat. He
Yeah,
lost
after the TSM days, they just never never went
Well,
back.
he didn't go back. So wow. All right.
I feel like we should.
Okay, Bio.
Should we have known
should
that?
have. No, we should
I don't think we should have done that. I don't think there's any reason why
That's
you
always
should.
memed upon, right?
Take it out of here. Put it up.
I need that brain space for some other facts.
For some song lyrics.
Exactly.
Question 2. Yesterday, Froggen had a 60.1% damage
Yeah,
share
he
in
did.
Game 3 against FlyQuest. However, this was only the second highest damage share in playoff history.
No, that was a.
I'll
World
give you
game.
credit
The
if you
Caitlyn
can
one?
guess who scored the highest, or what that number was.
Who plays a poke champion?
So,
Varus, remember when Varus mid was meta?
There's no way it's more than 60.
Varus mid was sick.
Did Arrow have a game where he was like Varus and did a bajillion damage? I don't think so.
What about Bjergsen as some kind of mid lane champion that does poke?
What is the number? Like, we're supposed to know that?
Wait, what is the number? I didn't even see that part. of the
Bjergsen
question.
with
Okay.
All right, I'm
What
gonna
is
go
this
with
question?
62%.
I'm gonna go with 65.3%.
67.1.
I have no idea who though.
62.2,
I'm just gonna call out a
Bjergsen.
number and then
71%.
hope that it was like 6A in that
71.
Tristana game. So no, because there was a
No.
The correct answer is Cody's son, who had a 62.3%
Yeah, I was very
damage
close to
share
that.
as
You were very
Caitlyn in a
close.
win over Clutch Gaming in the 2018 spring semifinal.
kidding me?
Yeah, these are
These
very
are just so
they're
obscure.
so hard and specific.
I think it's time I see other people. It's not me.
Please.
After
it's
those
you.
questions.
I've heard
Look,
this
we've
too.
been
Let's see if
asking you
there's
to
a
do
smarter
that
bunch
all-
of analysts
all
I can find
split
in the
long.
LCS studio.
Wait, where did he go?
Hello fellow kids and Avali. Please be better than the analyst desk. This one is multiple choice. Who is the most picked champion in the LCS playoffs all time? A Thresh, B Gragas, C Braum, D Caitlyn.
Oh, well, chat stats, hopefully the audience won't disappoint you like analysts are, but it sounds like they're saying screw it to the letters and they're just shouting out the names. What's the name one more time? Is it Braum?
The correct answer is C Braum. You always bring Braum at 92 picks. Thank you audience. Your participation is noted and maybe some of you can give the analyst desk a run for their money. For now, let's send it back to those yahoos. And for Avali, I hear you like anime, so Jamatane and JoJo is mediocre at best. But
You want to go, Jatt stats?
I like Jatt stats a little better.
I was
now.
gonna say, I appreciate the jab throwing it Ovly there at the end. What I don't appreciate is the ease of that question as
multiple
compared
choice?
to the difficulty of the questions we were getting.
One, multiple choice, and two, that's straightforward. It's a very popular subreddit
Unfortunately,
fact.
we only have 45 seconds, so we can't sit here and complain any longer. We have to talk about
we
your
could complain
predictions
the
for the series. We'll complain later to Jatt stats, but your predictions for TSM versus Echo Fox High. We're starting with you. TSM 3-0. We jump over to Crumbs. We get the 3-2, and Mark also 3-0. So why so convinced it'll be a close series?
Because right now, you can play so many different champions, and you're not capable of practicing against those every single time you go into a scrim. Echo Fox has been busting out so many new picks in the last 4 and the different priorities. They're definitely looking at the rest of the world as to what is really meta, not just in the LCS. And I think that is what's going to allow them to take 2 wins. Not enough to win, though.
Hey, I like 5-game series, so I'm hoping you're right, Crumbs.